I don't have to do a game. Oh.
You get time.
This game recap.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was that on loud?
Missed all of last year due to right shoulder surgery. 0-1 is drilled deep out to left field. Back goes Antunes. He looks up, and that is...
All right, welcome to another episode of the Tigers ML Reports here on the Just Baseball Network. I am Rohelic Seal, and is Chris Brown and Brandon Day. And before we move on, I just want to get this cleared up once and for all. We are a Detroit, so for those who are new to us or trying to find out what we are a Detroit Tigers podcast. That includes the big league teams and the minor league teams. I have to say that with a disclaimer because for whatever reason, yes, do we clip the minor league stuff all the time on Twitter? Sure. Does MLB Pipeline not give us a bone? No, that's fine. The point I'm trying to make with all this is that we have, the reason why I kind of switched the branding a little bit, Tigers ML Report, because everybody thinks we just cover the minor leagues, but we talk about the Tigers all the time. We even write about the team on our website. So anyway, I just want to get that out of the way because for whatever reason, there's just like, oh, you guys just talk about the minor leagues. No, we talk about the big league team. If you listen to the first 45 minutes of each podcast on Monday nights, we do talk about the major league team quite a bit. So
we're pretty quick running through the minor leagues usually. I mean, it's usually just kind of the last segment of the show. But yeah, I mean, we've all been covering the minor leagues forever, and we've all been covering the Tigers for forever because it's all one thing at the end of the day. And I just checked in on Bless You Boy Slack, and they're talking about various squirrel recipes and experiences with squirrel as a food source. It's just cracking me up. I've had it in stew a few times, but that's where we're at with the squirrel is more interesting than the game, unfortunately.
I look a little squirrely tonight. Yeah, I am a little squirrely. I've had a really weird day, but I feel like I've had to I know, you know why I'm looking squirrely? Because some jackass has stole my what?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say some jackass stole my Twitter account, making me look like a fucking pardon my language, but I don't care. Making me look like a crypto bro, and so anyway, it's been a long. Twitter sucks.
Twitter is such a debacle. God, it's just brutal. I kind of gave it a while. I kind of thought like, all right, this is an absolute crap show for a couple years, but they'll eventually like kind of get it together. It just keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
Did you click on a DM? Was it something asking you to vote for something?
It was something, I don't know what it was. Like, I know that it had to be something to do, like, I really, honestly, it was something that was on my phone. Like, it was, I think what it was is when I was making try to make the two authentication, it did something screwed that up. Because so anyway, doesn't matter. Got a new Twitter account at the Rajcast, but anyway, there. I just wanted to get that out of the way about the baseball stuff because just making clear for everybody who's new, listen to us from the Baseball Network. We do cover all things Tigers. I saw that it was showing you bought a house in BMW. It wasn't me.
Crypto man.
No.
Yeah. Barb McQuaid.
Talk to me about Hyperliquid.
Out there asking for new Tigers podcast.
Who was?
Oh yeah.
Barb McQuaid. She was. She's a professor at UM and like MSNBC correspondent or whatever, and she liked Days of Roar, I think, because of Evan, and so she's looking for something that's similar to that.
She likes you. She said she likes you too, but she didn't. Anyway, I just wanted for Barb
just because I was on Evan's show.
Yeah, true, but at the same time, you're good at what you do. So, and at any rate, I just when I saw Barb, I was like, well, it might just talk about the minors, and I was like, no. But anyway, doesn't matter. Right now, the Tigers are losing 8-5 to Baltimore as they are chasing in the wild card. Today begins the Hug Week watch as trade deadline looms. I had a couple people down there saying there's like about 10 scouts on hand, which is usually there's scouts every game. Let's not kid ourselves here. But there's more scouts than normal. And so right now the question is where the Tigers are going to trade or not. And it's a question that I know for a fact that next week we'll be covering more in depth after the trade deadline, because next week's the trade deadline show. And Thomas, I don't know why they're running James Outman out on the field, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so trade the Tigers bullpen this weekend blew not one, but 2 leads this weekend, as they could have had a chance to sweep the Royals, but
I mean, I know the offense, is getting dinged quite a bit, and that's fair, but you still have to be able to win some games where you only score a couple runs. Like, there just isn't a team out there that scores 5, 6, 8 runs every single game, and the Tigers just consistently need to do that. It seems like, they've gotten away when they had Montero in the bullpen, they got away with it for a little bit, but yeah, it's it's the bullpen. It's always been the bullpen. It's been the bullpen all year.
Yeah.
There are other things that we could do, but like the one thing that there's no solution for is just like, where are they going to get, any bullpen arms? So yeah, listening to the, Scott Harris and at least reports that that's what the Tigers are shopping for. I mean, that's fine, but there's so much that they have to accomplish in the next week, getting under the luxury tax threshold or the competitive threshold, getting under that, figuring out if they're going to trade Skubal, if they lose a bunch of games this week, they might decide to just sell everything not nailed down. We do have a bunch of lefty relievers. Maybe someone wants those. But, who knows? They win the next 5 games, and then all of a sudden we're right back to like, oh, well, maybe, maybe we should stay in it. It's really in Schrodinger's week of baseball here. Like, I don't know what they're going to do, and I don't know when they're going to start doing it.
Yeah, we've mentioned a bunch of times that it's just so hard to dig yourself out of a big hole when your bullpen is unreliable. And right now, the Tigers bullpen is they're running a relay race with the baton like a frozen dog turd. It's just one bad move after another, and like there's no right choice. And it's such a bummer to watch. That Casey Mize gave him more than I expected the other night, and they still couldn't keep that one. And it's a total team game. We talked about this when we were at the game. Like, there's defensive miscues, bad base running at times, a lack of clutch hitting when they need it, and it just compounds. And then again, nothing breaks your back like a bullpen that gives up home runs late, and that's all they do lately.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, they 1 through 6, the Tigers lineup looks pretty good. Like how Yuli's been hitting. I don't know quite how much that will hold up, but I mean, we've just got 3 black holes in the lineup still every night, and there's just no one you can depend on. And this just feels so familiar. It was the same way all last year. Like, they just, I don't know if this is what the front office thinks, but they definitely have that attitude of like, anybody who throws strikes can relieve for you, and you shouldn't, you shouldn't go too crazy committing assets to that portion of it. And I don't know, pretty much all of modern baseball, would argue otherwise. So here we are. Well, and I don't really know what to tell them to do.
I would just say along the lines of Outman and what we've seen, like, they just seem to believe that the most important thing is to have somebody who's going to catch the ball at shortstop in center field. That's how you end up with Zach Short getting a bunch of plate appearances this year and James Outman getting a bunch of plate. They just seem to value that more than anything else. And so, I don't know if there are readily available bats at those positions that are any better, but it certainly doesn't seem to be something that they're actively looking for.
And they would probably be right about that if they were actually getting like lots of offensive production from the offensive positions, like if they were getting, 55, 60 home runs with a 250 average from first base and third base combined, then yeah, that philosophy makes perfect sense. But like, this outfield, other than Riley Green, is doing nothing. Kerry Carpenter needs to switch to 0 drop shoes and get his plantar fasciitis in order. I would recommend Hobie Bear. This actually really did work if you've ever had plantar fasciitis. You do eagle claw exercises where you fold your foot that way, and then you get yourself some 0 drop shoes, and your calves get stronger and you're rolling. But yeah, there's a bit of a digression. But yeah, the corner outfield, other than Riley, isn't doing much. The outfield in general, other than Riley, isn't hitting much. And you don't get enough out of first base and third base to have just defenders out there. And you guys did a really nice job, I thought, kind of debating the Max Clark issue and on the call-up series. And yeah, I mean, I think we all know they want to wait until he'll retain rookie eligibility next year, because he's probably got a 20% chance of winning Rookie of the Year in the AL next year. I would guess something like that. There aren't that many other guys who look like they're going to be on target to be called up on the the first of the opening day and compete against him. Not that Max Clark is necessarily going to put up a 6-WAR season or something next year, but at the same time, that's like, if you're worrying about that, but then you also have to worry about, not blowing your draft position this year with the Skubal situation. And are you trying to win or are you not? Because I have to think that Max Clark is better than James Outman right now. I think he's better defensively, and he's clearly a better hitter. I mean, he just is. He's not going to hit. He's not going to run into one for you maybe quite as often, but all those other at bats where James Outman is just going to strike out, Max Clark's going to put the ball in play a ton. So, and try to run like a little demon. So, if they were deadly serious about winning, like, he probably would be up right now, but they're playing all sides of these things. And I don't know, they're caught in the middle.
It's the one thing about this. Oh, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, I've got a delay here on my end, so I apologize. It's like 3 or 4 seconds behind everybody. No, we were talking about, even if they don't want to bring up Clark, they could bring up Brett Callahan if they wanted to. I mean, he's probably not any better in center field than Outman, but he's a guy you don't have to worry about losing his rookie eligibility next year. I mean, they brought up Malgeri. He can play center field in a pinch. He played it a lot in the minors. They just it's like the only thing that they believe in is, have you done this at the big league level? They brought Workman up and didn't play him an inning at shortstop.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Callahan, I think we all know isn't really ready. Like, he needs more time to, kind of work on being a lot more selective at the plate. Like, he continues to chase a lot, even though he's been productive for the Mud Hens and looks like he's going to settle in there. And I have some love for Brett Callahan, but he's also still, like, for a guy who's 24 and, in his 3rd season, he didn't play a whole lot the first 2 years because he was kind of banged up intermittently and never really got, a whole lot of run. So there's still a chance that he could develop more if you give him the time to do it. But yeah, I mean, how is he not a better option than James Outman either? It's baffling. Like, I didn't hate the Outman mood when they did it, like, for a short-term thing. Like, okay, like, hey, you need a left-handed bat there and someone who's competent out there. But at this point, they've got options. They should be desperate, and they're still just sort of like, we'll just see how it goes a little longer,
As far as, like,
it's weird.
What's even, like, by the way, Joey wants too early to give on Cole Keefe or change a scenery candidate. Dude, he's been batting .333 the last 2 weeks. He's been playing better at third base. I mean, tonight he has some mental. That's what I'm saying. Like, Cole Keefe has a really good game, and then he has these mental lapse. So it's kind of weird. But again, it's the whole team, though. I mean, it's not just him. But, like yesterday, he made a really fine play and showed his arm, and it was like, wow, holy crap, that's something we haven't seen in a while from him. But
it's just a question of whether you think there's upside, right? Like, do you think he's ever going to get to more power? He's not ever really going to be, like, a very useful defender unless they move him to first base and full time and, like, actually let him get comfortable there. But he does hit, and he's under cheap team control until he's, like, 30. So you don't really want to just give up on him. I mean, if someone wants to give me, a fringe top 100 prospect for him, then then you start considering it. If someone is actually going to come for him and say, like, hey, we think we can develop this guy into the good player that we thought he would be, rather than just sort of an okay, player who hits but doesn't really have a position, I still think you consider it. But I would rather, I would, he's so cheap, I would just rather kind of let it play out.
But I also think he's, like I said, at third base, he's come a long way. It's not like he's like this horrible.
He has gotten better.
Yeah. So I'm not willing to give up on him yet until it's like Nick Castellanos bad, and it hasn't been that bad. So that's where, like, I think the biggest difference is, yes, is he not hitting that 20-30 home run power that we saw in the minors? No, and that I'm not sure what the hell happened there with that. But I'm still seeing enough to where it's like, okay, he goes 0 for 3, but then it comes back in the next day, and it's not like Spencer Torkelson, who first swing and then on Saturday pops up. Then Chris and I were betting. Yeah. Chris, I think it was Chris that said he was going to strike, or I think he said he was going to strike out, or whatever the case was. But, like, these bats are becoming so predictable with some of these people, with some of these guys. It's embarrassing. It's frustrating. And then Gleyber Torres, who's supposed to be this, the veteran bat, goes 0 for 5 yesterday. And just the Royals are a pain in the ass. Don't get me. The Royals are a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You have to pitch them a certain way because they're missing Bobby Witt Jr. and I think they're missing missing somebody else too, aren't they? They're missing somebody else.
Michael
Anyway.
Garcia.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And and they still were able to go in there and keep everything close. It was ridiculous. And that's what those were me. The Baltimore series, I expect some sort of challenge because Baltimore's offensively better. But good Lord, folks, come on.
Yeah. Should have been able to shut down the Royals. I mean, they're hard to score a ton of runs against because they do defend well for the most part. But yeah, I mean, their pitching staff is, shot full of holes. So the fact that we couldn't get to them, for more runs is frustrating. And the fact that, they ended up kind of putting in some pretty lackluster efforts on Saturday and Sunday overall, kind of all around, was pretty frustrating. But I mean, this again, like we keep saying, this goes back to May. Like they just dug too deep of a hole. They played great. I mean, they've done everything you could have asked them to do from June 1st on. Really, you can't expect much more than this from any team. And it's only gotten them back like into the fringes of the conversation. And that's the problem. The hole was too deep. So I mean, I haven't given up. And even if they trade, Scooble and make some moves, I wouldn't like count them out of the wild card just because it's baseball and insane things happen. Like we've seen insane things happen each of the last 3 years. No one can predict, how things are going to play out. But as far as like betting on this season right now and not collecting a bunch of young talent for the future, I mean, I'm convinced. I mean, I've been convinced for a while now that they probably need to trade Scooble. So, we'll see if they agree. It hasn't helped matters that Jack Flaherty got hurt because they could have probably at least got rid of his contract and given themselves enough payroll room to go get themselves a reliever as well. But he's out and won't be back until after the trade deadline, conveniently timed. And, so the options just aren't really there. They kind of need to sell what they can sell. Maybe not everybody, but anybody that you can get a prospect that you like for, you probably need to go in and kind of 2024 it up here.
You could technically still trade Flaherty, but I'm not sure.
Seems less likely people are
without.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, as far as like even Mize right now, I think Mize might be gone. I really think that Casey Mize is more likely one of the first ones to go. I really think that it's just a team like the Diamondbacks who are in the thick of things. Maybe Chris and I were talking about Spencer Torkelson going to Arizona because of the first base situation. I think they're near the ranked last in first base production, Chris, or something like that.
Pretty low. I think Cody did point out that they brought up was it Ben Williamson? Is that right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's a good time to like if someone will give you something for Torkelson, it's a good time to to cash that chip in probably and for whatever it's worth and get out of there. But and then you call up Chase Young,
this
move Colquita over there, played Valencia a little bit,
What is it,
this particular homestand, I would say this homestand reminds me a lot of the last 10-game homestand where I was talking about all right, this is it. They've got to do it here. And they started off with a sweep of the White Sox and then ended up going 5-5 because they lost a series to the Yankees and Astros. And this one started out great, right? Two wins against the Royals, a lowly team, clearly going to win this series, and then Bupkis. And now coming out and getting, jumped right away. It's a really bad time for Kiter Montero to have his worst outing of the year.
Yeah.
He's been so good, and it just kind of sucks that when they needed him most here, he just didn't have it. But the offense has continued to fight back. But the bullpen, it's like we said earlier, it's that relay race, and it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to forgive Cater, of course, because they've kind of messed around with him and, they needed him in the bullpen and this and that. But it is still a little frustrating that he'll have like these bursts of a couple outings where all of a sudden the strikeouts are there and then they just completely disappear and he just doesn't have the handle on a single breaking pitch again. And kind of just has to, attack with four-seam sinker and it's almost like nothing else. And the Orioles did a nice job of just taking their singles. One of the ways Montero's been able to exploit a lot of teams is getting them to take hacks because they're seeing a lot of fastballs. And so he'll just kind of pepper around the edges and get a lot of weak contact that way and a lot of quick outs. And to their credit, the Orioles just kind of barreled him a little bit, just like not taking big swings. Like we're just going to keep lining the ball to the outfield and running the bases and piled it up. And then eventually the dingers started piling up as well.
Yeah. And then, you also look down at in terms of like reliever shakeup here, like do you call up somebody like right now, like Jim Beller mentioned that Jesus Diaz at some point who was on the 40-man roster. I think that like by the end of the week, like they have a really tough series coming up. They go to Sacramento to play the A's, whatever what the hell they're called. Then they go to Seattle. Then they have San Francisco. Man, that like a giant kick to the nuts the entire time because at that point next week's going to be the trade deadline, so they're going to be out west. And like I said, just how this team is going to be completely different when I come back to play Cleveland and the White Sox. And Chris, you mentioned this, I think, yesterday about how big those division series are, and really puts them into play.
It's you look at the standings heading into today. I think the Tigers were 500 against everybody and 0-6 against Cleveland. You could look at it that way. I think they're like 12-17 against the division. You got to win these games against teams that are great. And I don't know. You just see it. It's an incomplete, flawed team that can't get out of its own way.
And I mean, I think another little interesting note has been that the base running has sucked the past week. And, Joey Cora departs and Billy Boyer takes over. And all of a sudden there's a lot more like uncertainty. Like, there's been some weird holds, like how Lee yesterday was going to score easily and, had to absolutely slam on the brakes. You can get dudes hurt that way. Tonight, like a couple guys like just not reading the ball perfectly. Like they were tricky reads because they were plays that might have been made, but they weren't. And we gave up 90 feet both times by holding up. And sometimes that's just bad luck. But in general, yeah, like, I don't know. They haven't looked the same on the base paths. Colt Keith, taking third tonight was like the one like super aggressive move. And that one wasn't really a very good idea. So they were lucky to, not get a run voided there by him getting thrown out at third. So yeah, I don't know. There's just some funky stuff going on as usual, where they can look really good, for so long, but they're still not convincing that, I mean, as good as their record is over the last 7 weeks, I don't think anyone is convinced, that, that's the team this is fundamentally. Like, we're really a 600, team, and we just had May and we'll just wipe that out. It's just hard to bet on that the rest of the way. And yeah, I mean, what was Thomas saying up there? Like, why would you guys trust Scott? None of us do trust Scott Harris, but he's in charge. Like there isn't some other option, where it's just like, well, we should just not do anything until Chris Ilitch decides to fire him. Like that's just not going to happen. I don't think so. We're stuck with who we're stuck with.
Here's what I'm saying. Like, look, the A-Rod situation was absolutely botched, okay? No one was complaining when the Tigers signed Framber Valdez. Nobody. If you were complaining then, please show me receipts, okay? Please show me receipts about that. Or my Kenta Maeda should have got 2 years. I was on record about saying that. Should have got 1 year. That being said, and then the Verlander thing. Who knew this was going to happen? Like, a lot of this stuff is like, okay, now we can sit there and say – and height, like, oh, look, Verlander, yes, it was a risk no matter what. But everybody was $2
million. I mean, it's $2 million.
Yeah, it's $2 million.
I know the Lux tax too, but
But like, for us to sit there and go, well, we all expected all these moves to be shite. No one expected that, man. Like, I like the Valdez signing. I like the Verlander signing. I liked the Kelly Jansen signing because he's been effective. This year, he hasn't. So I don't know. It happened with Joe Nathan. Everybody got excited about signing with Joe Nathan. And he sucked for a little while here. And, I wasn't talking about Alex Cobb. It had nothing to do with Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb was a shitty signing day one because he was Chris and I have been on record about this. He was injured the entire time. Back and forth in Cleveland. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Well, he got out of bed that one time and his hip went, and then they got it checked out, and then it was the other hip, and it was like, oh boy. Yeah. Like, I go back and forth, right? Because ultimately,
I give up.
Your record is what your record is.
Yeah.
I mean, just none of that matters. I mean,
your record is what your record is.
Thomas, Scott Harris is your GM. Like, it sucks, but
Yeah. Again, did anybody know that Charlie Morton and Chris Patton were going to Paddock hit the bed? No.
Well, I don't think that matters, though. I really don't. Yeah. Because I mean, if you don't,
they still made the playoffs last year.
They still made the playoffs last year. Exactly.
They did. It's not up to us though to like know in advance like what the right and wrong move is. It's the guy who makes millions of dollars and has like $50 million dollars worth of an analyst department to like figure these things out. So I don't rip them for any individual move like really ever because they're small. Like that's the thing about Harris is that for the most part they've been small and inconsequential moves. And when you make a lot of moves like that, you're going to miss quite a bit because there's a reason these guys are available on 1-year deals. They're not that good. But you can't miss on damn near all of them. And that's the problem. I mean, I just think the totality of record is quite terrible from Scott Harris in that regard. Like signings, I mean, we could whine about Jarvis and Liam Hicks and the worst, but there just haven't been very many good moves. Like they drafted Kevin McGonigal. They made a decent trade for Jack Flaherty probably, and they made a pretty good trade for Michael Lorenzen. But after 4 years, I mean, there's a lot of trades that were bad. We gave up a closer for Justin Henry Malloy, who was a guy who didn't have a position and ultimately can't hit. I mean, we don't need to get into the whole thing, but I mean, I do think that the track record for Scott Harris is pretty damn bad, other than the draft where they've been solid, like pretty solid. I think if Kevin McGonigal hadn't rushed up here like an absolute demon, like our farm system would still be top 5. So should we keep Kevin McGonigal down there so our farm system doesn't get ranked 22nd by Baseball America, which I don't care about because I think they're wrong on a bunch of guys. But, I mean, I see people pointing that out, like, oh, even the farm system sucks. I don't really think that's necessarily the case. They're just missing They are missing upper level pitching, and they need to get some, and they need to do it somehow at this deadline because they need support in the years to come, and they can't just sign a bunch of free agents that they can't option and have to like do exactly what we're doing this year, where you have to go get like 3 free agent relievers that you can't do anything with if they're struggling, but keep using them. And you can't call up guys and send them down if they're struggling to work on things. We don't have that optionality right now. And that's another thing that's kind of killed them this year. If Andrew Sears was 100% ready, I'd put him right in the bullpen right now, because as far as I'm concerned, he might be the best relief option they have. But, they don't need a lefty necessarily. That's not really, the sweet spot. But, Andrew Sears might be the only guy they really have in the farm system in the upper level right now, because Jake Miller just keeps getting hurt, that is going to be able to help them next year. So I don't know what you guys want at the deadline. I mean, I kind of just want the best players. I try to always keep it that way, but man, they need a pitching prospect who is close to ready, or a major league pitcher. So yeah, I mean, if the Braves want to trade us Didier Fuentes and a hitting prospect for Tarek Skubal, I'm probably interested. I don't really think the Braves want to do that, but you never know. I don't know who's going to do what. The Dodgers are starting to say they're not that interested in Skubal, and that just sounds like BS to me.
Yeah, it sounds like complete 100% bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they might not be interested in Skubal at the price that's being asked, basically. I tend to do these big research projects. I've done them a handful of times, and so I started going through and looking at every move made in the first 4 seasons of Dave Dombrowski, Al Avila, and now Scott Harris. And it's kind of stunning how many nothing moves everybody makes. There are so many like random free agents they sign that don't even play, that are gone, and it's not. I don't know. I think we have this feeling that things happen faster than they normally do, because Dombrowski's 4th year was 2005, and I don't think anybody was heading into 2006 thinking, "Yep, World Series bound." Like, the Tigers were bad for 4 straight years, and it all came together that one year, and then they stayed relevant for another decade or so. It's hard to know when it's all going to come together. You do your best, I think, and you try to make the best moves. And to your point, Brendan, yeah, like once you make so many moves and so few of them work out, it's probably time to change your approach and rethink your policies. And if you don't, you're going to be out of a job because it's not working.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, you can't have this kind of a track record. I mean, I've gone through and written up like how much money they've wasted on zero WAR over the last, 3.5 and now 4 years. I mean, that you can't do that. Like you just can't miss that much. Like there need to be some hits, and they haven't been able to find anybody, to really put in the back end of this bullpen who's legit. It's just a collection of, mediocre relievers. And, maybe Scott Harris is planning for 2027, 2028, and that's kind of like always been his timeline, but he doesn't get to choose. Well, he does get to choose, but he missed, as far as I'm concerned. Like they had a window with Tarek Skubal in 24 and 25. They didn't want to spend any money. They bailed on Bregman, who would have been a big help last year, even if the contract doesn't look that good now. So they didn't spend money then. And then at the very last moment, they spent so much money that now they're like over the threshold, and they're still not getting any value back from most of these signings. So, I mean, overall, I've just been pretty miserably disappointed. Shout out to Mark Connor, who continues to do really good work. But that's about the only guy in the whole org that I'm like real high on at this point.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing: Scott Harris does deserve all the criticism. He has not been seen or heard from around Comerica Park for a few months now. I've been down there enough to know and asking around and trying to find, but no one's seen him. Look, he's not out there when the Tigers were doing good in June. He hasn't been out there at all. Draft night's usually not his night anyway, so you see everybody else. And as far as Dingler is a Avila draft pick, guys, again, this is something I have to stress this enough. Players develop differently. No one developed under Avila. Nobody. Okay? Period. End of story. Nobody. Tell me who developed under Avila. Tell me who exactly came up and became a better hitter under Avila. Yeah. Because you can't.
I would say Carpenter.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but Carpenter
came up the day Avila was fired.
Yeah.
I still think this is a good argument for AJ Hinch, is that just about anybody who's been any kind of a prospect who's gotten to the major league level has gotten better and at least hung in there. Like there were times when Spencer Torkelson looked like he might wash out completely, or that, Riley Green might not really turn into a very good player, or that Dylan Dingler might never hit. And, they've continued to help those guys improve for the most part. Yeah, Keith is frustrating. There's some misses as well. But for the most part, most of the real fine tuning and development has all gone on at the major league level under Hinch and Fetter and Lombard. So, yeah, but they were not developing worth a crap under Avila until basically it felt like Hinch and maybe some of the other guys in the front office like made Al Avila force out Dave Littlefield and go on a search, and they found a good guy in Garco, and now we have Farrell and Garco's the AGM. So these guys are still all entrenched in here.
Not to mention, I mean, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna make my last point about the bullpen because I got into like a mild discussion on Twitter today, because it's the Tigers data account put out that tweet that it got a ton of retweets that the Tigers have lost 17 games that they led after 7 innings, the most in baseball, but the Rangers had only lost 1, and so I looked into it and it was like, boy, these numbers are awfully similar. Like the Rangers they've just gotten the job done in high leverage. The Tigers haven't. But I looked, you look at the guys the Rangers signed. It's Jacob Junis and Tyler Alexander, and I could just picture, like, I didn't really want Kenley Jansen. I didn't believe it last year when supposedly the Tigers were interested, because I'm like, oh, he's not their type of pitcher. Apparently he is, because extension. I don't know, but like I was fine with Finnegan. I think Will Vest was a good reliever until he was obviously hurt. And it's just bullpens are so annoying and dumb. And you would think that at one point it would all work out. It kind of did 3 years ago, right? When they just had magic with Hanafi and Gunther and everything seemed to work. Losing Herter isn't helpful. But you can't predict that somehow Jacob Junis and Tyler Alexander are going to be lights out, and Finnegan and Jansen can't get anyone out when you need to. Yeah.
I mean, and I think, the lesson there just comes back again to the farm system. Like if the reason things worked out in 2024 is because, for all of his flaws, by the time Al Avila left after whatever it was, 7 years, they had a ton of pitching. And, they didn't have like great pitching, but they had Kader Montero, they had Brant Herter, they had Ty Madden to all come help out. They had Will Vest, they had Dylan Smith, they had, they found Sean Gunther briefly. Some guys who helped them out. They had Bo Brisky in the system for forever, as a whatever, I can't even remember, undrafted free agent or picked in the 30-something round. They had arms, and they don't have those arms right now. Was he? Okay. I'm thinking of Foley. But yeah, you have to have that optionality in your own system to be able to call some guys up. And we know, apart from the rare, like, genius elite reliever, most good relievers are former starters, and the Tigers don't have any former starters to convert right now. Unless you want to consider Drew Anderson, a former starter to some degree,
I can make this counter argument here. The counter argument to that is, yes, Avila had pitching, but they didn't have any up the middle type hitters at all. Nobody. I mean, they didn't really. So the trade-off has been, all right, we gave up pitching, and which now they're trying to address right now in the last 2 drafts, and they went for up the middle type players, young players that, you can see the potential. And even the international players, you can see that potential right now. 2028, as much as Thomas might be, I hate to say that, but it might be the case here, 2027, 2028. But there is the one thing that blows my mind right now about Harris is the fact that you had a clear need to get a bat. You knew that Carpenter was beat up last year. And that has been one gripe with him. You couldn't get an outfield bat. You couldn't get Sterling Martelo's out there. He goes to Kansas City. Yeah. Like, you couldn't get him. That part makes no sense to me. That part makes zero sense to me.
There's been a lot of lack of proactivity in the whole front office approach to this. We've been talking about this all year, but just rolling with Vierling and McKinstry, two guys who are, past their sell-by date, probably, who were never more than utility guys in the first place, but they don't turn the roster over. It's like everybody has a permanent spot here until they completely go to hell for, months. Yeah. And then maybe they can be DFA'd, but they're not proactive. They haven't developed this roster at the major league level very well either. And a lot of guys have just sort of like aged out, or they had their one peak season and they've been waiting for them to, repeat it for a year or 2 years, and it's not happening. So, yeah.
So I don't necessarily disagree with them not going out and signing a bat, right? The bats, all the free agent bats last year, aside from Pete Alonso, I think have looked pretty bad. But that doesn't mean you can't make a trade for a bat, and that's just something we've never seen. Not for a big league bat, right? Like, they've traded for a couple minor league bats. You mentioned Malloy, originally, but yeah, there's just not a lot of creativity on that front. We used to complain about the lack of creativity from the Avila front office in terms of drafting, making interesting 3-team trades and taking on salary and all that stuff, and now it's just like they don't trade at all.
Yeah, they just don't do anything until they absolutely have to. It feels like, yeah.
Look, the Liam Hicks thing, can we put this to rest? No one expected Liam Hicks to be a Rule 5 pick on the Marlins and do what he's doing. I'm sorry. Nobody thought that. If you thought that when he was down in Double-A, congratulations, probably won the lottery. No, like that. Okay, enough with the Hicks stuff. That's just to me, that is all the Marlins. That's good scouting on the Marlins part. But the Tigers expected, no one expected him to be picked up. And that was, by the way, the only signing the Marlins had all year that year. Yeah. Sorry.
Again, I don't want to harp on any one of those individually. It was a bad move. It just is. But yeah, it's not like I thought Liam Hicks was going to be a plus hitter. But he could hit. He just couldn't catch. But it is what it is. You have to add it all up. And I think when you add it all up, it looks pretty bleak for this front office. But yeah, I don't want to nag them over every one minor deal. Every team kind of misses on little things once in a while. But yeah, here we are, and I don't think very many people in this fan base have much confidence. And people kind of act like, you needed to say at the well, it's not revisionist history. It's just a assessment of how things turned out.
No,
he was talking about Hicks.
I was starting to say the revisionist history that I'm enjoying. The one I like the most right now is, and I think I mentioned this before. If you go back to the draft, the 2024 draft, the Tigers take Bryce Reiner in their first pick. Their second pick, they take Owen Hall. One pick after him goes Peyton Tolley. And their third pick, they take Ethan Scheffelbein. One pick after him is Gage Jump. If you take those two guys instead.
Yep. And I think, we would all agree, the Reiner pick was good though, right?
Yeah.
I don't see anybody else I liked until they got to Gillen, who went 8 spots later, and that's why I kind of want them to trade for Gillen now, because he just feels so Tigerish. But I don't think they can get him. I'm not 100% convinced that the Rays would be willing to do that. So
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, look, like I said, I feel like right now we're 38 minutes in, or 39 minutes in this podcast here, and here we are acting like the Tigers are in last place and the worst team ever, and they just come back to the 2 back-to-back playoff appearances. So I don't know. Sometimes I really don't know. As far as the show direction goes today, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. If you say anything nice, you're gonna get yelled at. If you say anything bad, you're gonna get yelled at. So look, the Tigers are. Look, I will say this: they should trade and go and move on, because quite frankly, what I don't trust is Harris, what he's going to get back on trades. He has to get this trade deadline right. If he doesn't, he loses his job. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's that simple, because I don't know, We saw Steve Eisman. Like, I thought that maybe Illich would give some time to Steve Eisman. No, he quietly resigned. He's not, so again, he has to get this trade deadline right. If he doesn't get it right, I mean, the 2 playoff appearances aside, the Tigers are they've done everything they can. Go ahead, Chris. There's a delay there. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just say, it's rough. If you go back, if Alavila gets Kyle Tucker instead of Franklin Perez, that makes a big difference, I think. But sometimes it's a crapshoot. And JJ Cooper just wrote a whole big article about how most of the time when you're trading for prospects, they don't work out. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Although I think the one thing,
got to get a big league starter.
Yeah. The one thing JJ Cooper left out of that, though, was just kind of the selection bias portion of that, which is that the reason guys get traded at the deadline, prospects get traded, is because their teams didn't believe in them. And the teams that are typically trading prospects for major league talent are usually the best teams in the game at making those trades. So I do think, we should keep a little bit of that in mind, that, I mean, like, the Dodgers are going to be right more than you are, and the Rays are going to be right more than you are. And that probably skews the sample to a degree, but it is a good point that unless you're trading a top prospect, like, it's very rare that you're going to, completely get hosed on the deal unless you go trade for, nonsense. Like, if you're actually going and getting a good player with team control, you should almost always do it. Unless they're insisting on Max Clark or, Bryce Rayner, and those are guys that you intend to build around. Yeah. So here we are. I mean, we're kind of just like taking questions. But this week was always going to suck, guys. Like, there's just no way around it. Like, everything I wrote this weekend, I was like, okay, I'm dreading this week. Like, this is going to be awful. They can go like 40 different ways. There's probably no right answer. We're just going to have to make it through this. And if Scott Harris is the guy that we think he is and just wants to build young and build out of the farm system, and that's kind of the way he's always going to approach it, and rarely ever make any other move, then he probably does need to collect, as much prospect talent and, and young controllable talent as he can, because they haven't shown really the willingness to do much else. And then the Framber Valdez signing, like, I was just happy to see them like do something aggressive and go get someone, but it was still like kind of an odd move for them after everything else that they've been refusing to do in 24 and 25. And then they finally just decided, like, we're going to spend right up to the max. And obviously part of that was, and no one wanted to hear this at the time, but we all said it, like a lot of us and a lot of different analysts, that they screwed up that arbitration hearing, and it mattered. It wasn't just like a whatever, $12 million. It's not a big deal. $13 million. It mattered because they were already right up against that, because they thought they were going to win that arbitration hearing, and they didn't. So, here we are. They got to cut payroll. They got to restock somehow, and they don't have to like 100% give up on the season and just trade everybody for nothing. Like we traded for like Eric Silva and, guys like that in 2024 that, like you can look back at that being like, oh, well, that didn't work out. It was never, but a lot of those guys weren't supposed to really work out. They were just modest, small scale trades. So they don't need to do that if they want to keep some of these guys. But yeah, I mean, moves have got to be made. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to be.
Yeah. And I got a proposal Dodger. Like I do like a realistic trade proposal thing that I have going out tomorrow. And I'm going to bring out my MLB trade funnel real quick, because this is something that Chris and I brought out before my account got effing hacked. And so, but it's worth mentioning again. I came up with this because for those who work in the business side of things or understand how funnels work, here is the business. Here's the MLB trade deadline funnel. So those who work in marketing or however whatever you do here. Awareness and exposure. The first time a team's been aware of your brand, product, or service. Bregman, swing and miss reliever starters, in this case, Tarek Skubal. Teams begin to learn about your player and prospects. That's discovery. We're in the discovery phase right now. Evaluation. Scouts are in the town tonight. Consider your player if your prospects are right for them. GMs connect with your team to learn more, express intent to trade. The intent. So right now, I think we're in the evaluation. Maybe they're in intent stage. I'm not sure. Purchase. Prospects or player converting to 2.1 or above that players contribute to a championship. Lastly, loyalty. Prospects or player becomes advocates of your brand, products, and services have a great experience drawing bigger and better crowds. That, my friends, is this MLB trade deadline funnel. I created this last year, and yeah, I had a good time with it. But I figured share that. Yes, Deadly Ninja Bees, thank you. My BMW is in the park in the driveway next to my Flintstone mobile and the Ghostbusters 1957 Cadillac, and it's also next to Optimus's Prime truck. Yeah, it's right there. They're all in the driveway right now. And
Raj has his door knocker on his front door of his palatial new mansion is a Solana coin.
Yeah, it's a Solana. And I have, you know what? I have I'm Mr. Burns. I have my dogs ready to go.
We only accept donations in Hyperliquid now, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I have no idea what the hell you just said, Brandon. I don't know what Hyperliquid means.
It's just it's just a fancy new crypto that allows for perp trading and prop betting and IPOs and blah blah blah, and does a better job. Whatever. We don't need to talk about crypto.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
I just saw Hunter Biden mention it the other day, and I was laughing. I was like, "Yes, Hyperliquid. That sounds cool."
Yeah, crypto is a little sore subject with me at this point. But anyways, gentlemen, I'll be right back. Go ahead and you guys as you were.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think we've beaten this discussion mostly into the ground. There's nothing really to say at this point. They need to do.
Do you think that the Tigers
not do things that are dumb?
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. Do you think? I guess let's just try to put it this way. Do you think the Tigers can get a blue chip prospect for Turek Skubal right now, like a 55 on most lists? We're being vague. Lists vary. Teams have their own list. All the qualifiers, but I mean, if they can't get that, then maybe you do just hang on to them. I do think they should hold out for somebody good at very least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a 55. I think you at least can get a top 100 prospect. It really, it always depends on who is looking and how much competition there is. And, the Dodgers have those guys coming out of their ears. And if they did want to get into it, I'm pretty sure you can get one of them. But other teams, I don't know.
But there is a lot of teams kind of bunched together and kind of in that same realm where you'd think there should be competition for some of the top guys at the same time. And I mean, we did get Tyron Lorenzo, who was a top 100 guy for Jack Flaherty. So,
yeah, it's certainly possible, and I would think you should get, with the number of teams out there who could use Turek Skubal, which is basically every playoff team, you should get a very good prospect and probably another one or two kickers in somebody else who's interesting. But you got to be able to play the game right, and I don't know, we haven't really seen that.
Yeah, and who's going to be desperate? When I look at the teams that are in there, who is really desperate? I could see the Brewers having a bit of desperation to try to make a push, but they're not desperate. They're going to be good for years to come. They've got a great farm system. They've got Mate, they've got Pena, they've got some pitching. They could certainly make a deal for Turek Skubal and give it a shot if they wanted to. But the one guy, our old buddy, Mr. Dombrowski, with his aging Phillies roster, that does have a good pitching staff. The problem with them is that they don't necessarily need it's not that they need an ace. That's not really their weak point. But if he wanted to do something big and finally try to win, well, he's still got Harper and Schwarber doing damage and being what they're supposed to be. Maybe he does kind of go nuts and give you Miller, and maybe you can get Painter too. I don't know. Miller, of course, having ablation surgery on the nerves in his lower back is a bit of a red flag, but I don't know. Yeah. He's had a lot of back issues, so maybe that solves it. I don't know, but
no back issue, guy. I'm sorry, back. Every time we've talked about this, but this has been our trope on the podcast. Someone with a bad back. Nope. Sorry.
Forget it. Yeah. Well, should have moved on for Carpenter for a while too. Those lower back hamstring guys. It just never seems to get better. Fair enough. Nope. Yeah, and the Cubs system isn't good. So yeah, I don't know.
Kind of. They have some interesting players you can get. Jefferson Rojas is an interesting younger shortstop in AA. You kind of had this post-hype prospect. They have Josiah Hartshorn is that right fielder who's hit for tons of power. But it's a matter of what you want, what you're looking for. I was kind of shocked the other day to see the Phillies have one of the they'll get top or a bottom 5 offense by WRC Plus this year.
Yeah, I was shocked when you told me that the other day. Yeah, we told me that the other day. I was shocked.
They've had a lot of guys fall off. I mean, Trey Turner just disappeared apparently, finally, which is kind of weird. But yeah, some of the other younger guys that they were depending on haven't really done that much.
Maybe they could.
But they do have a great rotation. So,
Krista, Missy Dave.
Missy Dave. Here's the question of the day: if you could have Dave Dombrowski right back right now to take over this front office and fire Scott Harris, would you do it? I don't know that I would either. I don't really know anymore. I want someone young and new, but that's what Scott Harris was supposed to be. So I don't know what I want anymore.
I would be prepared for him to trade most of these younger guys and have it work out. And then I would be prepared for them to not build a good bullpen again. He did it in Boston and he did it in Philly, but for whatever reason, it never happened here.
You can't do it here. Despite the dimensions of the ballpark, which should make it easier. I mean, I guess the thing about Kenley and Drew Anderson is that they strike guys out. And that was like the change that they tried to, we're going to go get some guys who can get whiffs. And they did. It's just that with those whiffs have come copious home runs. So it only works out if you can prevent the home run, portion of events. Where's Brant Herter at? Get back, Brant.
Yeah,
there's another lower back problem.
I know he's been. I think he's rehabbing right now. He's been throwing off the mound a little bit, but he hasn't. There's no timetable for him yet. Hinch hasn't mentioned him recently in any injury reports.
Yeah.
But speaking of injuries, by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. We're gonna breeze through this pretty quick because we're running in 51 minutes at this point. Roberto Campos is back after being gone since April. Then as far as Joe Miller's coming back on the rehab trail, so he's heading up to West Michigan. Should be in Erie this week. Erie's going to play the next 2 weeks at home. And I think either this weekend or next week it won't be out there. Saturday we have that softball thing, don't we, Chris? Is that Saturday? The celebrity softball tournament thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that Shelby Township.
Yeah.
Well, I use celebrity in quotations. It's going for a good cause. So Vito from the Detroit Sports Podcast is getting people together and they're raising money. And it's a really good time. This is the first time it's out in Shelby Township. Usually they do a UAD Mercy, but going out to East Side Saturday for that. So it's always always a good time. No, it's not an influencer softball game, C-Buck. No. I hate being the people. And this particular this clown always thinks that I'm an influencer. And anyway,
well, it's your BMW, dude. Stop flashing.
it's the BMW. It's all that crypto cash. I'm a crypto brah. All right, but going to Toledo. Toledo taking care of business against a very. It was so funny. Chris and I were making fun of Louisville's lineup. It's just it was me. I think it was you and I were making fun of Toledo's line or Louisville's 4A lineup. It was just. I know the Tigers can't say much about that, but man, and then Ricky Velasco's back too. That's new, right, Chris?
No, he's been there. He's been there the whole time. He just hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we haven't mentioned him in a while. My apologies.
Yeah, he quickly lost relevance because he went back down and he was struggling.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's there's you did the Max Clark debate. He's having his typical July blow up. OPS over 1,000 this month. Do a little bit of thing last week. I mean he looks relatively close. I think if they wanted to call him up, I think they could justify it. We'll see. At this point, you are 17 days away from when he clears the service time threshold, so you might as well wait.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know. And then there's Max Anderson, who is always a tough evaluation for me. But he's been hitting like crazy since June, and he started walking this month, which he's never done in his life before. So I don't know if they need another bat or if Glaber goes.
Yeah, I mean, if you trade Glaber, then
they've got some guys hitting in AAA.
Yep. And the one thing I've always wanted from Max Anderson is to be way more selective because he just swings at everything and he has good hands. He doesn't strike out a ton, but he didn't do enough damage as a result because he's constantly swinging at pitchers' pitches and putting the ball on the ground and popping up and stuff. And he's on the right track, I think now. It looks like he's finally started to take that seriously, laying off some pitches early in counts and waiting for something he can drive, and that's kind of all he really needed to do. So yeah, if they end up opening up a space for him, then I assume you're going to see him because and Callahan too. They're both going to be on the 40 this offseason. So
yeah, I mean they got a lot of interesting decisions to make up there. Ian looks like he's brand new to the chat. Welcome, Ian. Clark Yeah, there's like I said, you go to our YouTube page. We do the Call 'em Up series, and I decided to bring out the gavel for that. I thought it was a cool graphic to use. Colin and I go back and forth about that, and yeah, it's a fun debate because what we do is go the pros and cons, why you should not, and we also do it for all levels too. So, for example, if we wanted to do one on Peyton Graham going to Toledo or not, or whatever the case is, we tend to do those, and those are fun. So you go to our YouTube page and go to our Call 'em Up series. We've done ones in the past. We did one we did one for Kyler Montero not too long ago. So it's kind of ironic because I will say, Colin was talking about this the other day. He's like, you guys were the first ones to really say Kyler Montero was good. And it's like, yeah, cool, whatever. It is what it is. But
I do think one interesting question that's coming up with the Hens, and as far as calling them up, and this kind of relates to Erie too, is it's more important for catchers now to get to the ABS system and get a chance to work with that. And that makes me wonder if they will call up at least Lorenzo to AAA, but by late in the year to at least start getting him some experience there. They could try Briseño, but he kind of just needs to settle in and get the bat going after the wrist injury.
Yeah,
I'll also mention Tyler Madison hasn't allowed a run since May 27th.
I will mention for Briseño, by the way, his catching setup is a little different, but I was talking to I have a friend of mine who's telling me that according to his girlfriend, he's still having pain in his wrists. So that's why he's been so he still has a little bit of pain when he's catching, because some of the setup what he has is he sets to the target very, very late.
Yeah.
So that it's still resulting in some pain. So just wanted to pass that along. But
I guess that's not so surprising. The dude's pumping 95 at 100 at you. That you're still gonna have some scar tissue and stuff like that.
In Erie?
Yeah.
Who's doing that in Erie? Sorry.
That's true. Well, you do have a point there. Yeah.
What's up, Chris?
Oh, I see. Well, Madison Charles throws hard, and so did Moises Rodriguez, but he's gone.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's
Yosber throws kind of hard.
Yeah,
but whatever. Yeah, it's irrelevant.
Anybody else you want to highlight, Chris, in Toledo?
Hard to watch. Not so much. I mean, we did our special video on Yolber Diaz. I think he's an interesting arm for sure, but along the lines of the guys that used to come up to the Tigers in 2009, the Brian Villarreals of the world.
And I'll just move my Max Anderson, thoughts over to Brett Callahan, because he's got a 34% chase rate or something like that, and that has to change. But he deserves time to figure that out. So.
Yeah, he's definitely earned the right to. I think he's not ready to be called up as of yet. I mean, there's some. I wouldn't
think so either, but
no, yeah. I mean, would he be a guy who would swing and miss a lot? So he needs a little bit of time. I mean, he's still relatively new to Toledo. So will they trade Baez? I don't think they would. So Erie is one of the few teams in the system that's in playoff contention right now. They're in cruise control in the Eastern League. Interesting note, though, about Justice Bigby. So I did looked into his hitting streak. I was seeing if there's anything different. It was a couple of years ago in his dominated level. Outside of his line drive rate being a little bit higher, it's the same exact numbers. Exact numbers. There's nothing. So before you get all excited about Justice Bigby, and I mean, he's 26 years old, 27 years old in AA. He's doing what he's supposed to do.
He's always been a good hitter. He just doesn't hit for much power and doesn't have a position. And that's the problem. He could maybe he could go to the major leagues and hit 250, but what are you going to do with him,
Yeah.
So that's been his problem all along. There was big B hype 4 years ago, three or 4 years ago. And it just never came to pass. And he actually ended up getting demoted to AA, and he's still there. So.
And then as far as Job's rehab start, by the way, thank you for everybody who tuned in to our, we did this around the league, around the minor league system live. So we just checked in a bunch of games. We had some people that showed up, so thank you for doing that. And we were checking out Jackson Job's start. Fastball was pretty good. Got some good tail end action to it. He was, Chris, about the breaking balls he bring out third, fourth inning. Well, his last 2 innings, right?
I thought he was basically using everything the whole time. He gave up, I think it was a double on a broken bat, RBI, that the first run, and then he gave up a rocket that Jenkins caught and juggled at first base. And then after that, he completely settled down. I think he got the next 9 guys out.
I didn't think the breaking stuff looked real sharp, but that's not very surprising, you know. Yeah, I mean, he is coming back from Tommy John, and we're all everybody's like depending on him to save the bullpen practically at this point, and it's like, this might take a while.
Yeah, they said he's due for a rehab startup at Toledo next, I believe.
Yep. He was in Detroit today too in the dugout, so working with the team.
Fun for us after Job was Andrew Sears, who went and pitched 4 scoreless innings with just 1 hit. Really looking like the guy he was last year. So that's good development there. I don't know if we'll see him up in Toledo at some point this year, but you know, I thought he was doing pretty well in Erie last year and would have been up in Toledo by this point had he stayed healthy.
Yeah, the changeup's getting better too. It looks like what we've seen there, the changeup is far superior than it was from Akron even too. They're like just from about a month, just a few weeks ago, seen him in Akron. It seems like he worked quicker at a quicker pace. Bowie, by the way, that's funny. We were making fun of what was it, one hitter that I guess looked like he
Pozo?
Yeah, Pozo.
Yeah.
But apparently lost
Pozo.
Yeah, Pozo looked like somebody saying he lost 30 pounds. I'm like, I don't know about that. But congratulations to Patrick Lee, who hit his first 2 AA home runs, which does. I when Chris credit to Chris on that, because I was like, no way, he's been in Erie before. And then I realized he was only here in Erie for like a handful of games before he went back down and was doing all the tour of the minor leagues again. So
yeah, they barely played him when he was up the last time. It was just like he was there for emergency purposes.
Yeah, it was one of those like weird promotions that is never gonna stick. Patrick Lee is so interesting though. I mean, just a toolsy monster who there's no thought that he's ever going to hit enough, but he also didn't really have the normal development pathway, and so it doesn't hurt a bit to keep him at AA and to see if something finally really comes together for him, because he can throw, he can run, he's got huge power. He's fun. He's a very fun minor league player to watch.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if down the road he also becomes a pitcher or something like that, right? Like
he could.
Yeah, he pitched in college. Yeah, he pitched in college too. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see here.
So yeah, boy, the Peoria Chiefs were an annoying team this week. Ty Pete was a one-man wrecking crew, and he didn't even win Player of the Week. It was Jack Gurovich who won Player of the Week because he hit like 5 home runs.
Wow. Ty Pete hit 4 and
Rob Rayner of 1.
Rob Rayner too.
Yeah, warning, we're watching Cash Kuiper throw up on the mound.
This was in Lakeland. That was a good one. That's a rough.
Sorry.
It looked like he pounded a bunch of like Red Bull or Gatorade before getting on the mound,
and maybe wasn't feeling very well in the first place. Obviously, we've all. Anybody who's played baseball, like you've been there, where you're like out there, and all of a sudden it's like you're out in the heat. Like, wait a minute, I feel terrible. All of a sudden, I'm gonna die.
Hurl.
That's a rough moment.
Zach McDonald got his first high A home run. Good for him. It was a bunch of strikeouts at first, which I expected, but he got that home run out of the way. And Elisalt continues to pitch really well. Yeah, it's very encouraging.
Yeah, he's looking good. Ben Jacobs is finally starting to get some national love. Like you saw, like I think MILB Central, like posted an article about him as well. Obviously, we've all been fairly stoked about him since the beginning of the year, and seeing what he's doing. He's still been a little home run prone, and like sometimes gets himself into a bad count and makes a mistake, but he's racking up the whiffs at the same time. So that's very encouraging. It feels like Bryce Rayner, and this is why I keep thinking they might even call Bryce Rayner up. I'm probably wrong about this, but it feels like they're pitching around him a lot now. There's just nobody, there's no one to really threaten in that lineup really otherwise, other than a little bit of Hristich and, Jackson Strong's out. So it just, I don't know, watching him, it just looks like they're just like, we're just going to jam him and not let him extend his arms, and we don't care what happens otherwise. So I don't know. He might need more of a challenge at some point. I'm not sure.
And in general, we don't have any inside information here, but it does feel like the time of the year where they might make a fair amount of promotions just because, like we saw earlier in the year, it happened after the All-Star break or a couple months ago. But yeah, like you've got the FCL guys who their season is done. And the new draft picks, some of those guys are going to be ready to play, get their feet wet. So I think we're going to see, unfortunately, it also means it's cut season. Some guys are going to get cut. But I think we'll see some people moved up at each level.
It would be nice to see Yost moved up, because, I mean, we do have Angel De Los Santos. They've got Tyson LeBlanc. They've got guys they could play at Lakeland. And, Yost, it's just a question of when his power is going to kick in. But he's hitting really well. Like looks very comfortable at that level. Is walking plenty, not striking out, not whiffing, playing good shortstop, kind of right on track for what we're expecting with him. It just all comes down to is he going to Hulk out in 2 or 3 years and get to average power, and then we'll be really stoked.
I'm gonna make a prediction here.
I'm going to say yes.
Well, I'm gonna make a prediction that I think that Christian Santana gets cut, and we see Bo Anthony come up.
Yeah, it's time. Yeah, it's time for Santana. Yeah,
it's time to move on. And I think that the way they addressed the draft with first baseman too, kind of to me was a writing on the wall right there. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, yeah. I mean, is it LeBlanc? No, who's the other kid?
Ballinger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But one of those, regardless, I think they're gonna address that pretty quickly, and the days of Christian Santana are gonna be gone. But Espinal here, look, is he ranked? Let me ask you guys this: I don't think is he ranked on the MLB pipeline at all?
I don't think anyone knows
anywhere.
about him.
What the hell? Like, what? Okay, look, I love MLB pipeline. I love Baseball America. They do, work. Blah 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 blah. But I was talking to Jason Beck, and they didn't consult him about the recent list, and he was shocked about Espinal not getting some love.
Yeah, because it wasn't that bad a list. Like I disagreed with a bunch of stuff, but like they had Koba and like some other guys that I wasn't sure if they really knew about yet. But yeah, I mean Espinal's just a hitting demon, and I don't know if he's going to develop a lot of power, but he's getting on base a ton. He's hard to strike out, and we'll just have to see how the catching keeps developing. Like sometimes he looks like he's come along back there, and then he'll make like a really he'll have like a game or two where there's like a lot of mistakes. But sometimes that's like, well, I'm trying to catch Malachi Witherspoon's monstrous uncontrollable stuff. So yeah, there are some challenges. There are some challenges even at that level.
I mean, yeah, it's always tough when you get a college guy in low A dominating, because you're like, okay, this is sort of what you're supposed to do. But he's doing it at a level, and just from the eye test, his bat speed seems legit. His judgment of the strike zone seems legit. I think, I mean, the ultimate question, like for over the fence power, is there. But he's probably going to spray a lot of line drives. He's faster than you might think, especially for a catcher. So yeah, I mean, he's another guy that like he deserves to be promoted, but it might just be a matter of catching, right? Getting catching instruction as much as possible. I don't know if Pena's down there with him. So that's that. But yeah, he was player of the week because he had a monster week. Two different walk-off hits on back-to-back nights. I think it was a double and then a home run.
Yep.
And you see the numbers. And by the way,
he homered the next night.
Yeah, 3 home runs in a week. Yeah, so in yesterday's game between Jupiter and Lakeland is probably going to be our game of the year if we were to do that.
Yeah, that was one of batshit crazy game. Like it was one of those games where my phone kept. I was working on the lawn yesterday. All of a sudden, ding, ding, ding. It was like going off like every 5 seconds at one point. It felt like.
If you didn't see it, was a 16-15 Lakeland loss.
Yeah, it was chaos. Yeah,
absolute chaos. Yeah, they scored 8 runs in the 7th inning, so they were up 15 to 7?
8? Yes, 7, something like that.
15 to 8, 15 to 9, whatever. And then Jupiter scored 4 in the 8th and 3 in the 9th. And Lakeland had a chance. Espinal was up with 2 men on. I think they walked him, and then Dumanel, I believe, ground out to end the game. But just a bonkers game, and it's sort of what you see every now and then in low A.
Yeah. And as far as the pitching goes, like it's just, we've got Salcedo back on the mound, just getting working his way back into it. Same with Paul Wilson, same with Owen Hall. Nobody's looked very good other than Salcedo, who always looks good to me. Wet Wiska, though, is starting to build up, and I'm a big fan of him. And then we go back to Malachi Witherspoon, who just cannot put outings together with any consistency yet. And it'll be interesting to see if the Tigers do anything major with him over the offseason, because they really didn't seem to tinker with him very much. And he's kind of looked exactly like he would have been forecast on draft day. Like occasionally looks great. Stuff is fairly big, but not anywhere near as effective as it should be because he's not ahead and makes too many big mistakes. But he does have the stuff, so we'll just hope they can kind of get him sorted out. But it's just nice to have the pitching like back at least and starting to develop. I mean, Owen Hall and Paul Wilson have not been impressive at all, but you just need to get them to the off season with as many reps as possible and hope they stay healthy and can get stronger in the off season and start figuring it out next year. They're both still young. I don't know if Paul Wilson's even 22 yet, and Owen Hall's 21, I think. So they're just like they'll be like brand new college draft picks next year, and maybe we'll finally get something out of them.
I still like Wilson's stuff. It's just he just still can't locate the fastball. By locate, I mean like land it in the zone. It's just
at all. Yeah.
And Hall's stuff, his stuff and command looked pretty rusty. You just like you said, you're glad he's back. I will, with Wiska, I'm a big fan, and I dug into his data a little bit more because MLB Pipeline or Baseball Savant, the minor league, it still hasn't figured out what his changeup is.
Yeah.
So they're like 99% of them are listed as a sinker because it's like 90 to 92 miles an hour. So it's a really hard changeup. But I went through and grabbed every pitch and sorted them out on my own. And when you do that, it fixes all the pitches. So his fastball's sitting 95.8. In the changeup, he's got a 41% whiff rate on it.
Nice.
It's a relatively small sample size, and he's got 3 distinct breaking balls. Although I'm not sure that the cutter and the slider are different. But he seems to have just started throwing a curveball too, like a low 80s curveball with like 2,700 RPM spin. So it I don't know, like he's kind of I think we've mentioned this before, but he's like your future Troy Melton if you could build him properly. Like he's got the pitch mix, he just needs to refine it all. He throws a lot of strikes for a guy who hasn't pitched a ton. Good athlete, so I'm excited about him.
He has the extension to the Tigers like that. He has like riding and cutting action a little bit on the four-seamer pretty often. Yeah, so not really like a sinker guy, but definitely more of a Melton type, like supinator. Can we still use these terms?
Yeah, we use it.
He's a supinator, all right.
No, but also it's still weird to see these guys still getting these 4-inning starts. Like I'm just still.
Yeah, I know.
Lakeland
doesn't seem to have helped.
No, yeah, Lakeland. It doesn't matter. They get guys on the IL, so I'm interested to see if that's going to change at all going forward. If again maybe a new voice next year can kind of haul things over with what they have. But
they've gone all year without a minor league pitching director, so maybe they will change their mind about that this offseason.
We didn't even mention Charlie Christensen, who's been the best in terms of performance, starting pitcher for them all year. He went on the IL last week, so.
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't anything too major. I didn't really get much of an idea. Like Marcano was like holding his upper arm. Yeah, maybe it was tricep and not elbow or something, but that might be worse. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And then Chris Rod did some damage to close out the year. That was fun.
Yeah, Raj and I just both did our post draft top 30 prospect update, and I think I have Chris Rodriguez lower than anybody else in the planet. Which is I love the power. He's got so much physical talent, but it's 32% strikeout rate in rookie ball, and that just doesn't ever work. There's like a handful of players out of 650 that have even made it to the big leagues after doing that.
Yeah, as an 18-year-old.
No, regardless of the age.
Okay, well, we might need to sort that. I'm just saying. No, I know I know it's sketchy though. Yeah.
I looked at 18 first. I'm like, all right, well, no, but like basically, your one hope is Austin Riley. He did that.
Yeah. So super risky.
There's we'll see. There's a good opportunity though. By the way, that what I'm looking forward to this week coming up with the Tigers, or excuse me, with the minor leagues too, is that if you're looking at ahead a little bit, I mentioned the Seawolves playoff opportunity chances, which would be their 4th season in a row. That would be 5th. Is that 4 seasons in a row? 5th. Yeah. Okay. So 5 seasons. It'd be 5 seasons in a row where the Erie Seawolves have made the playoffs, and so they're hosting Akron this week. And again, the reason why I mention this is because looking at the roster pitching wise, they have no business being in the playoffs. They really don't. They really, really, really don't. 5. Thank you, Seabuck, for that. I appreciate it. 5 seasons in a row. Yeah. So
somehow Tony's managed to navigate this with literally nothing. Like we even got Joe Miller like looking good, and then he got hurt. So but at least Andrew Sears is back. They've got that. They've got Miller. Yeah. Serwa's been okay. Alba's been okay here and there, but it's definitely not real inspiring as far as prospect wise.
So if you're part of our paid tiers of our Patreon, Chris and I, you can find that list, that articles that Chris and I did my top 30. Chris did his top 30, and you can check out the differences. There's some similar. Chris and I had 24 of the same guys, so But yeah. Oh, they're nice. There you go. Thank you, Cole.
I appreciate that. That show existed before me. It's it was funny. I deliberately didn't look at Raj's list, and he obviously didn't see mine because I did mine afterward. And we like to do that just to see like where we are, and it's pretty close for the most part. There are a few people where we just have different ideas, but in different ranks. But it's I don't know. It's a I don't know what to say really. The system still has a fair amount of interesting depth, but it's the ceilings aren't really there beyond the top couple.
Yeah, I don't know. I am loving Michael Oliveto though. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I actually think he's been rather underrated. Obviously, there's still questions about whether or not he can really catch, and that's part of it. But I kind of love the bat. So yeah. We'll see how it. We'll have to see how that plays out. But seeing some better international free agents come through and like a little more like depth from that side as well encourages me. I still think it's probably like a very middle system. Like I think you could put it 10th or 11th, and if you had it like 18th, 19th, I'm not gonna quibble, but I do think that's the way to go as far as like you don't want to group think it first. You want everybody to like think it out for themselves and then have the argument and kind of forge the complete list from there.
Yeah, and that's exactly that's why we do it the way we do, because to me, for example, so if I'm looking at Chris's top 30 real quick, I mean, I think it's just worth mentioning that I'm very weird about until I see some of these draft guys. Like I understand why they are what they are, and I get it. But for me, I have to really kind of take a look at them. My top 4 or my top 5 are Clark, Rayner, Brasingo, Callahan, and Fluky. And I know I'm sure people were like, why, Callahan over Fluky? I haven't seen Fluky pitch that much. Yeah. I'm sorry, but the potential's there. I mean, I get it. It sounds like I have Oliveto at 11. Where'd you have Oliveto?
I actually dropped Oliveto because of the defensive questions. That you had that game where he gave up 12 steals, and that was a problem. And there's a little bit too much ground ball contact. Now you could come out of that, and I like his swing. I think it will produce more contact in the air, and he pulls it naturally, and he walked more than he struck out. There's a lot to like there, but I just worry. From this round, I kind of went with like, okay, what if this doesn't work out? Then you're first baseman.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. Is it first baseman, maybe corner outfielder, maybe.
So I was a little bit like I dropped him, but again, like there's things I like about him. I was trying to I dropped Lorenzo, I think 4 or 5, and then I moved Valencia up 4 or 5 because you know what? Like we've seen Valencia, he seems like he can hit big league pitching, maybe not consistently, but he didn't. He acquitted himself pretty well in that small sample size, and he can theoretically play catcher. He can put the gear on and get back there, which is valuable, even if you're not good at it.
Yeah. Whereas for me, like Lorenzo's gotten so much better to me behind the plate over the last year that really kind of supports the fact that the bat is not coming along. And so I haven't really changed my view on him, just like my total view on the player has changed, but I still am kind of grading him the same. I still think he's like 45 solid, maybe plus in some respects, if you believe that catchers develop more slowly with the bat and that if he has more time, maybe he'll figure it out. But he also might need to get traded to the Dodgers again to access all that, or the Brewers, maybe even better. I don't know.
Top 10. I have him top 10. Go ahead.
I think I have him 9th or 11th. I don't remember what it was, but it's really easy to fall in love with the potential like double plus power from both sides of the plate and being able to catch. I did say on defense he drops the ball on an exchange when trying to throw a guy out at second more than anyone I've ever seen. And I don't know if he's
still an issue. Yeah,
chunky hands, or I don't really know what it is. When he does make the throw, they're usually really hard and pretty good. He's got a very strong arm. It's just like there's little aspects of the game. I'm like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, why? Again, well, the drops thing has kind of been going on too for a couple of years. I mean, it is weird because I do think his framing has gotten significantly better and his blocking too, but he does just have a weird affinity for just throwing the ball away when he tries to transfer. I don't know.
But yeah,
we'll see.
This is the minors, right? None of these guys are finished products. So we do our best and we have our opinions and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll keep you posted. Like I said, next week, trade deadline special. So we might be going on a little earlier than normal. Although the Tigers are off that Monday, aren't they?
Everybody's.
Off, I think.
Yeah, they turned it into a big old event. So yeah, maybe we should should start at like 5 or 6 or whenever you guys can at the earliest.
Yeah, we could do an early show. By the way, Detroit Crypto Man. Yes, I think some of the signings are going to play this year. To answer your question real quick.
But I think LeBlanc and like some of those guys will. Do you guys think Fluky will pitch because he didn't pitch a lot this year?
I think there's an outside chance he will. You might get like 3 inning outings from him or something along those lines.
In a squad game, probably.
Yeah. I think we could see LeBlanc, we could see Maloney, we could see Ballinger, maybe even Tyler West. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I would like to see Tyler West. Yeah,
they're currently doing the camp right now.
But they can also just put those guys in whatever they call it now, a bridge league or whatever, just backfield games and just let them get some experience there. Yeah.
So trade deadline special after 6:01. So we'll be going on right after the trade deadline. So come tune in next Monday. Motor City Metrics will be on Thursday. If you'd like to tune in with those folks, Ashley, Mike, and Uper. I think I have softball again. Yeah, I have softball again, so I will not be able to make it. But Monday night, trade deadline special. So we'll be breaking down. Maybe a big one. Then we'll be breaking down a lot of prospects. So it might be a lot of video. So we'll be live streaming immediately after the deadline. So 6:01. Join us next week, and we'll have another newsletter. I'll have a newsletter going out in the morning. So they'll talk about the Tigers. And again, just for those who are new to the show, we talk all levels. Just saying, it's just, it's the Tigers ML report. I'm just saying, but anyway, have yourself a good night. Stay classy, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.